Oh, let's try that again. This time the right way. We're going to call to order today's Urban Renewal Advisory Committee meeting. It's September 18th, 2025. It is 5:33 p.m. We have everybody here with us today. It looks like Jeff Hunt, you are remote. I hear you're at CloudCap.
That's correct. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. And so going forward, do we have any business from the audience? Nope. Okay. And we don't have anybody else online with us today. So the next on the agenda is any additions or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Okay, great. And then the approval of the meeting minutes for August 21st, 2025 is next. Any corrections or notes about those from anyone?
Tina had two. I don't know if you want to.
So yes, I should also.
She emailed them in.
On the second page of the minutes, in the paragraph in the middle saying Nora stated, there's a reference in the, I guess you call it the third line, to missionaries overlapping with some of the investment targets. I think it might be missions. It is. Oh. Yes, and so that was one. So I think it's missions, and then on the next page in the section 2, I guess you call it the third paragraph. The first line starts, Hood River continues to be one of, there's a little one after for the period that should be.
Yeah, that's a leftover. That was superscript reference to a footnote. So that can be removed. So good catches.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve those meeting minutes with the corrections that Tina brought up? Okay, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Okay, approved. Next up, regular business items. Will, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Hoffman. This is a follow-up to a discussion that we had at our last meeting about the Taylor Avenue width adjusting to a different width configuration. Let's see. So if you recall, brought to your attention the problem of as we've gotten to 30% designs for the Taylor Avenue bicycle ped connection, linking May Street Elementary across Taylor over to the west side neighborhoods. Surface to light that the right of way is only 55 feet, not the 60 feet originally identified in the Klein survey that supported the Heights concept plan. So reached out to all the neighbors. No one's too interested in assisting with any additional right of way, unsurprisingly, but needed to ask. So I think we're left with how are we going to reconfigure within the existing 55 feet? So we have the two options in front of you. One is to sacrifice the north side parking, like we talked about last time, to retain the protected two-way cycle track. And then another alternative, we found that we can maintain the north side parking if we do kind of an extra wide sidewalk on the north side that would be shared multi-use path. So bikes would be sharing the path with pedestrians. Talking, understanding kind of the amount of traffic that's up there right now, we don't think that's going to create too much user conflict. In your packet, I had a picture of kind of a similar width sidewalk in Portland. That's a shared use path between bicycles and peds. Wanted to, now that we have these more fleshed out, get your take on these. Clint, to your comment about the angled parking, I ran that past the engineers, and I was surprised to learn that angled parking actually doesn't save you any width. So but I did ask them to follow up and see whether or not we could add any, if we went with alternative one, if angled parking might give us, more stalls and might also reduce the, car doors opening and closing into the shared use path. So, if there's some benefits to that, we can switch to angled parking, but in any case, the width is the width. Whether or not you have parallel parking on the north and the south side or angled parking on the south. And I went out and I measured the angled parking, around and confirmed it's twice as wide as.
16 feet.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that was interesting to learn.
Well, I didn't ask this last time, but both of these illustrations have a now non-existent crossing over 12th on the north end of that intersection, 12th and Taylor. And right now, the only way to cross is south of the entire intersection on the south side of Pine
Right,
to get over 12th. And so most people go all the way to May where it's safe with a light to cross with their kids and the strollers and the bikes.
yeah.
Will there be a bump out on the east side of 12th to cross that?
Let me see if I can annotate
Illustrated.
on this. So the, yeah, it kind of cuts off, but, there would be. You would kind of be one crossing this way.
Yep.
And one crossing this way. And what MIG is still looking into is whether or not both could have pedestrian activated rapid flashing beacons, or whether or not this distance is too short for both crossings to have that level of, whether or not they'd have to be synchronized, so you hit one and both of them go off, or if you could hit one and one of them goes off. But
Yeah.
the idea is to have crossings on the south side of Pine and the north side of Taylor for the for the east-west.
Yeah.
So south side of Pine, that's the existing crosswalk.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where your lower ground line is written, I mean, it's really.
That's-
feet further down.
Well, it's, yeah, so from Pine, from the corner of the bakery to cross over to the north side of Taylor, you got to go across 3 crossings right now. And if there were a bump out halfway down the block on 12th to get across to that Taylor corner, that would be a really safe, easy way. And there's no traffic turning and looking the wrong way.
Couple pages earlier where it showed the concept plan, there's actually a cross at both north and south of Taylor. That real reasons, or someone learned something?
Yes, that one is going away for real reasons.
That's a width issue thing.
Yeah, it's
5 feet.
width issue. I can have the MIG folks talk in more depth, but too many crossings too close together. So the idea is. Let me change the color on this. That's not easy to see. Okay, so walkers could go this way. But what they're really going to be incentivized to do is whether or not they're coming from here or from here, go to this, go here, go up here, and go this way. Because this sidewalk is going to be standard width, but this is going to be that big, ultra wide sort of Cadillac of a sidewalk.
And that's it. That's the safest class sidewalk right now.
Yep, so nothing here will be closed.
On the other end, on 13th, are they gonna crosswalks south?
Yep, piano key with rapid pedestrian operated rapid flashing beacons.
That one's gone just because I'm not really seeing thing.
No, one that would have eliminated the ask for signing.
Right.
Close sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there when that happened. Take it or leave it, but their justification is too many crosswalks makes drivers crosswalk blind. And so, it's better to have fewer,
Disagree with that. I'm just saying. They're below the, and the answer is roads are for cars, not people.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, and this sort of, these movements that I drew on here work, with either configuration.
Another question on the south side of Taylor and an alternate one, it's shown as green, i.e. it looks like it might be some vegetative thing in the drawing, but doesn't show as vegetative in the lower in this section.
So, okay, no, you're seeing no vegetation on this one, but vegetation on this one.
Right.
See, plan,
Green ink anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the green is vegetation or stormwater. Yeah, stormwater, yeah, passive, treatment. And I think that's correct, that in, alternate two, there may not be room.
it looks like even if you went with alternate one, if for some reason we wanted wider bike path, you could easily just transition it into alternate two.
Yes, I don't know how easily, but I mean, nothing's
I mean,
easy.
you lose some parking.
Yeah, but you can always swap the parking for the cycle track.
So you'd have a second chance if you got it wrong.
Yeah. You know, tearing out concrete, I'm sure it's not inexpensive, but it is, yeah, maybe 20 years down the road if, bike ped traffic really picks up.
I'll say this maybe for the third time, and I apologize if it is, but the width of the bike lane is not nearly as important as the safety in getting to it and from it across 12th and 13th. Like making a super highway between those two corners isn't really solving anything, but making it safe to get to the skinny bike rail with some green paint on it would be awesome.
Great.
That's gonna save some kids.
Is the, I sort of like the combined bike and pedestrian thing, because it's at a different level from cars. Is it the same width as what's proposed between Pacific and Hull or whatever that first street is?
Oh, Pacific and,
It would be nice to have sort of a consistent design when it's a combined pedestrian bike thing, that they all look the same. And I mean, if it's like a foot wider, you could probably nick that 5 foot floor space down to even 3 feet out space and get a foot or two extra. And I don't know what that 2 foot at the end is really doing.
you're asking about the Pacific to Belmont connection on 12th, is that?
No,
Oh.
12th Street. 12th to Pacific,
Oh, 12th to Pacific is gonna be a protected cycle track.
but how wide? Cause it's
Hmm.
another combo one.
Yes, it's gonna be as wide as we thought that Taylor was gonna be before, when we thought we had 60 feet of right of way.
Can the combined bike pedestrian ways on Taylor and along 12th look the same? That is my
We could
suggestion.
down that, getting 12th is so many, like, we're gonna do the roundabout before we do 12th Street.
Right.
So that is a long ways off, but we could always downgrade, the cycle track to be a shared use path, to be the same as Taylor.
Oh, I thought in the plan, shared path.
Oh,
Along 12th on like a percent.
this little area right here?
Yeah.
No. Here's all the 12th and it's,
I guess so, but
It's-
go further south another 1/8 of a mile.
okay. Over here.
That's.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Pacific to Belmont connection. Yes,
Yeah,
what
so
the,
Look up. There's that little piece, but that was bike only.
Yeah, we did sort of guess on that. That was a real, like last minute. So I think it was sort of out of scope, but we asked
What did they say, 12 feet? As a combined?
yeah. But, we asked, the PSU students to look at this too, and there's a lot of different options. This would be expanding and having a retaining wall. We could also have like a pathway, like, that's on like a pedestrian bridge that goes out. There's
Right.
so many different options. Yeah.
Well, yes, where's the Portland picture taking stuff?
Yes,
I know, well,
yeah, half mile from my house. I was walking the dog. It is on Taylor's Ferry and, what, I'll just pull up the map. Yeah, that's right. Wait a second, let me get my bearings here. Yes. Uh-huh. This is that path. Uh-huh. 26th and. Let's see.
Will's dog. Look, he spikes.
So this is kind of cool. It was just recently built, so there it was just in 2021. And then.
I guess you were thinking as a recommendation. As we make combined bike pedestrian things, they are as wide as possible and that they all sort of match, so that you can. Once you get used to one, you're already used to all of them. You don't have to change the mental rules of what you're doing. But I think the way they're labeled, four blocks of, yeah, the way
They're labeled with
yeah, everything, and colored everything. Yeah. All properties.
We'll say on this one, for instance, though it does. I've measured it at multiple different points and it changes in width, about 4 feet in width from one places to another, and it's kind of imperceptible. Oh,
So that's compromises as you make stuff and don't want to compromise stuff as we.
Yeah. So the question I had for the committee tonight is, does one of these alternatives seem just so universally better than the other that you're okay moving forward? Or did you want to do some amount of public engagement to get more input between the two alternatives? That will kind of slow us down quite a bit because MIG will basically have to pause until they know which route we want to go.
I thought is the shared path is the obvious choice for saving width and, achieving what we're after, given limited space to build it in.
Agreed.
I concur. I think if we can make it slightly wider by nicking down some of those dimensions, we should. And I think that politically we should pull in. We don't need to have a public meeting, but pull in the bike advocates and tell them what we're doing and why we're doing it. Make sure that they're not surprised when council gets to it.
This may not be the appropriate place for this comment, but I got an email day before yesterday, I think, from Megan Ramey with Safe Routes to School about she organized a bike bus and a human linked arm bike lane tomorrow. And that might be worth checking out, just like to get some feedback from the people that show up to participate in that. And to see what 50 bikes looks like going down the road, how much room they actually need.
Oh, where is that?
It goes to the middle school from somewhere.
Oh, that thing on 17th,
It starts at the top of Belmont and comes down.
But now the piece they're talking about is from May to.
Sure.
Okay.
That's where she wants to do the.
Yeah, so we put the stretch with no signage yet. and
Right.
People still park there.
We'll see you there at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Might as well.
There's already a shared one on, for 18, from Belmont to
Yes,
Bannister.
yes.
I heard about that, that's.
Mhm.
Is that supposed to be shared though? I mean, there's a sidewalk and then there's that. Painted there.
I guess that's what it is.
There's no bike insurance in the 17th to share on the piece yet.
No, I just. Well,
I didn't mean to hijack this, but I think it's.
No,
It's an admirable thing,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's. Big.
Yeah, I can definitely communicate this to Megan Ramey. And I'm sure she'll know all the other folks to plug in.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
other comments?
Um,
No? Okay. Perhaps a suggested motion for this section. Okay.
I move the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee support moving forward with the Taylor Avenue configuration with a widened shared use path and maintained parking on both sides of the roadway with some outreach to the bike advocates along the way.
Okay. Do we have a second? All right. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. Next up, we have a presentation from Will.
yeah. So I don't have a super.
Oh, Jeff, I'm sorry. You gave a thumbs up. Did you have any additional comments for the bike path?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I support option one. The bike path or shared path is short distance and it maintains, the parking. And I think both of those are important.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Will.
Great, thanks. So this next report, I have a draft report from Cascadia Partners sent out to you. It's hot off the presses, just got it. This has to do with the so-called Mariposa 2.0, determining what our next housing investment is going to be. Just likely probably be on the west side, but to be determined. And some of the pre-steps we're doing to get ready for that is, one, look at all the publicly owned parcels and property in town to see what could either locate housing on it directly or create revenue or resources to support housing investment elsewhere. And, we've had that discussion quite a bit, and that has gone to city council, and we're going to continue to look at what the development options for those parcels are. And then number two is, what are the alternatives to a low income housing tax credit development like we did with Mariposa? That's kind of the no brainer. When you're going to build affordable housing, you do LIHTC. Like that's what we did. But there are other options. And while Mariposa Village is going to be a spectacular project, it's going to build a road, add a park, trail connections, be National Green Building Standard, and came at very, very little cost to the city. If you count SDC waivers, we were at about $16,000 per unit, which compared to the affordable housing bonds in the Portland area, they were about $150,000 in subsidy per unit. So we really knocked it out of the park with that one. But while it did come at a low cost and it is a great product, it's taken about 7 years from property acquisition to construction, and it's going to be another year or two before people are moving in. It's going to be deeply affordable, but also just rental. So there's no equity aspect or building ownership and wealth over time. So there are some drawbacks, and while maybe cheap in the checks that we wrote per door, hundreds of hours of staff time to get it done. So very high on the effort piece. So we wanted to, before we just barrel into another one exactly like that, we wanted to look at the characteristics of some other publicly supported models of housing to get the pluses and minuses. And so that's what's in this report. Sorry, I don't have a presentation. But the other types are basically market rate and incentivized affordable housing, where private developers without tax credit funding are incentivized in some way to create a portion of their units regulated, like deeded affordable. And so Portland does this quite a bit. They get, and Tina, you probably talked to this a lot better than I can. A lot of zoning concessions or just outright requirements that if you're going to build to a certain size, a certain number of units have to be affordable. So you can do that through regulated incentives, or if we had city property, using city property as the incentive too. It's all incentives, but basically just through development agreement, getting a certain number of affordable units in a development. No, Tina, you know
Yeah,
quite a bit
yes,
about this.
in Portland, it's, over 19 or 20 plus units now that is mandated, apartments are mandated, similar to what you wrote about. If it's at 60 to 80%, it's the 20%, if it's at 60% or lower, it's the 10% of units have to be affordable to that. There are a lot of financial incentives to help out, with that. Some that we are working in a project in Lake Oswego. They created a vertical housing zone for it. That was values that I didn't see in your as part of it to adjust that.
Oh, great. Yeah. So that's, another route other than LIHTC. Another one that we're probably semi-familiar with is the community land trusts, like Big River the city gave them a piece of property up by the airport, and they're building one house there. But they have in the works a purchase option with the I can't remember the name of the church over on Avalon to build 40 or 50 more houses. So they're working on that. And in that case, Big River will always own the land, but they will sell the building based on income restriction. And then because it's just the building and not the land, they can sell it for cheaper, and they can cap the amount that it goes up in price. So someone would take out a mortgage, buy a house maybe for 350,000 rather than 650,000, be paying down their mortgage. Some of their payments are going into equity. The house is able to increase a little bit in value over time. So it's not purely rental. It's kind of a halfway in between. So that's another option. So in that case, we could get involved by donating land, buying land, leasing it, a 99-year lease to the community land trust. And then the third one is kind of a different flavor of that, which is a limited equity cooperative that has been really highly used down in Eugene. Talked to an executive director down there of a limited equity cooperative. And it's like a community land trust, but you don't even buy the house. You buy a share in the community. So the community stays under the buildings and the land as a corporation. And when you move in, you buy a share in the corporation. And that share can go up, but at a regulated rate. And so the entry level becomes more like, instead of 350,000 to buy the house, it's more like $35,000 to buy a share. And then that share might increase a little bit over time. But it's kind of, I guess I understand, a bit easier to finance because it's not individuals financing individual buildings, but it's a corporation financing everything all together. So that's an option. So, gosh, so there's pluses and minuses in here. I can read the whole report to you, but I don't know. That's useful over time. This is draft. And so I wanted to give it to you in draft so that we could get your feedback, and I could give that to Cascadia partners, and we could tighten it up before it goes to the agency board. I'll stop with any questions or maybe where your interest lies.
I did read it and I appreciated it. Well, thanks. And I think we're already doing the right thing with the route that Mariposa's going. I'm intrigued by the Big River project, and I wonder, do you know what the timeline is for breaking ground there
There's
next
still
year?
pre-development. There's still their pro forma doesn't pencil yet, so they haven't got their sources and uses to balance. And they're
Got it.
looking for more,
Right. So
more
it's an
funding.
opportunity to give them an incentive to get going,
Mhm.
sort of.
Yeah.
And my only question is, and this might be naive, but where in the world do people that are unskilled entry-level workers afford to buy a house? And I mean, I think we're answering the right question by building rentals right now as best we can, and not trying to provide housing for, it's unattainable, really. That's my question. I don't know if that's a question or statement. I, I think, yeah, well, I think focusing on rental housing right now is the right tack to take.
It's like
I think
another
that's what
life
we're doing. Yeah.
Mhm.
My first job out of college was running a limited equity co-op.
Oh, really?
So I have some, just wanted to put that out there.
That's
It's
great
been
to
a
know.
while.
Yeah.
They seem to be used in, I didn't know about Eugene, but often used in like high rises, a lot in the East Coast. My experience with it was uh, very easy entry for the community, very low cost. And also, I think as you pointed out in your analysis of all these, doesn't really get you a ton of equity in the end, low cost, but low barrier and also less, you know, appreciation, but it does offer stable housing. And if that is the goal, I think it's a really interesting tool. And it sounds like we have some models in Oregon. So I just wanted to give it a little more boost.
No, thank you for that. I didn't know about the high rises because in Eugene, it's been like tiny homes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it can be used in any form.
Yeah.
And I did a bunch of closings with residents, and I was there a couple of years and saw that, just looking through the rolls, that people lived there they stayed there for a long time. And the process of them moving on was also pretty simple. So it was very popular and liked by those who live there. So, I'm
Yeah,
very
it is very much like collective ownership. Yeah. Mhm.
I also wanted to point out, I talked this through with my colleagues today.
Mhm.
The market rate incentivized affordable units, the recommendation for projects, and I get why, of 50 to 75 units. As a developer, and it's also because our company has run many projects of this size, that's a really challenging size to get financing and to make pencil for a developer. They need typically more scale. So you will have trouble, I think, in that unit size, potentially getting a developer to the table. And then I'm gonna have to feed you more as we're building a partnership with the city of Sacramento that has workforce housing. And it's using a low interest loan that's potentially forgivable. So there's a tool that I wanted to bring up that I'll bring in later. But that was my one comment on feasibility from the developer perspective, because we are actively looking at these sorts of things.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to Cascadia Partners to have them poke on that 50 to 75 unit scale.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that the limited equity cooperative is not something that I've heard a lot about, and it's very interesting to me. I do also agree that we need rental housing for the sake of having as much stable housing for the people that need to be housed here already. But in the talks that we had with the Affordable Housing Focus Group a couple of years ago, the prospect of options for equity development came up numerous times, even amongst the people that would benefit from just rental housing that was more stable. So like I'm glad to see some other options on the table for considering that in the future.
Yeah, an interesting, I think it's all of the above. And I think we want to have the diversity of maybe all of these over time. I saw recently an article in the Seattle Times that was forwarded to me about they built a ton of regulated affordable housing, LIHTC. They've kind of it's kind of a like just a monotype. And they're starting to find that vacancies are going up and they have like 11% vacancy. And so I think it will be interesting how quickly Mariposa Village leases up. I think we all assume like it's going to be 100% full on day one. But if it doesn't, and if it takes a little time to lease up, that will be a big data point for us to know what maybe our next project should be.
I was gonna say, yeah, we should incent all of these and other stuff. And so if there's market rate, people, developers ready to build stuff and we can give them height incentives or something like that. No, it's good. On page 7 and 8, I think it needs a paragraph that says in exchange, because those 2 pages don't talk about what the city, how much sugar we have to add to the thing, where the first one it does. And I think that that's an important thing when you're looking at that really high level at the beginning, is sort of to know what are we giving. For market rate, i.e. privately held stuff, with my previous jobs hat on, I'd be very politically worried about offering free land. The other incentives seem fine to me, but people would get upset when we did stuff like that. So some political sensitivity as far as which incentives for which of the choices I think is important. And
Can I poke on that? Which of these 4 models would you say is inappropriate for donated land?
the privately held one, so that might, so the land trust was sort of a quasi governmental thing, and I thought it worked sort of similar to Mariposa, right? The only one that truly rings as developer owned is market rate, but the co-op
Seems
might
good too. So
be in
just the
that.
market rate one would not be good for giving up public land.
At least it raised my eyebrow,
Okay.
as far as, and everything's negotiable, right? So this is sort of like this is our first, what could we possibly do? And if we're telling apartment developers that we might be giving them free land, I think that colors things in a not initially positive way. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
It's rarely free. Often it's written down so that it's less expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So that's our experience. It's rarely just given to you. The other thing I wanted to mention, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, I think it was in this market rate incentive affordable units, how the recommendation was to the one that would work, the version of that would work the most was mostly the 80% median family income. And you guys mentioned earlier, one thing that I've noticed over the years, and also just because we also have a bunch of properties and some of them have these 80% affordable units. One of the issues that we've seen is what you described in Seattle is those 80% rents can compete sometimes with market rents. They're so close, they can be relatively close and actually can be not as not as in demand as you might think. The real demand obviously is for slightly lower. But it's harder to make. But we've seen some challenges at times renting the 80% for median affordable units.
Jeff, I see you have your hand raised.
I support all of them. I think we should support or pursue all of them. I think it's important to have rental as well as ownership models. My experience is the rental is generally geared more towards the lower income, and then the ownership is more geared towards workforce housing, even middle income in a community like ours. My personal opinion is I think removing a deed restriction is a mistake, and I think they should be perpetually affordable. Otherwise, when you remove the deed restriction, whoever happens to own it at that moment gets a windfall. And so I guess I like all of them. I think I'm not that familiar with the LIHTC, or pardon me, the LEC, but I do think we should support them all. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, that's been a criticism of LIHTC is, as a tool, I think it came around in the 1970s. Tina, definitely, stop me if you say anything wrong. But, so a lot of the first gen is coming off of their deed restrictions and they're becoming market rate right now. Right as we're all still in a housing crisis. And so that's been an issue. We were very cognizant of that here at the city with Mariposa Village, and we chose the housing authority as a partner so that it will be forever publicly owned. So even though the federal government only requires it to be low income for the next 40 years, the owner of it is a public organization who's mission based, and so in that way it's be perpetual.
I had a urban renewal newbie question. I noticed both the LECs and the land trusts are, they're nonprofits, so they're property tax exempt. Given the way this is funded and paid back, is that, I assume that's okay, it's on the list, but I was just curious if that's a complicating factor since they aren't contributing back to the urban renewal.
Yeah, I get that question all the time, and I think it's great to really surface in the way I'm thinking about it and make sure that it's the way that you're acting about it as well. So I think about tax increment growth as a means to an end. So it's a source, but the use is more roads, more parks, and affordable housing. Especially, those are the three goals of the West Side Plan, and how we get to those goals is more tax increment growth. But I don't think that the affordable housing itself needs to generate tax increment because it's a use or it's an end, not a means. Yeah.
Part of the larger package
Yeah.
of what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Okay,
Well, thank you.
great. Thanks, Will. That's exciting. Okay, do you have a urban renewal administrator update for us?
I don't have anything for you today.
Okay, great. Items from the members. Any items from members today?
I won't be here in October, but I'll be here in November and December.
Okay, we'll miss you. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting today at 6:15. Thank you very much.